Alright, go on, send data. Alright, we're live on Twitch. YouTube information is sending. Hello, everybody. Hello, friends. Oh, yeah, look, we're streaming. There we go. Cool. Alright, everybody. We are live, everybody. So let me just put that on the story. Cool. Yeah, man. There we go. Cool. All right, folks. Here's what we're going to be doing this morning. We're going to be going through and doing a commissioned Alps build. This one I literally got commissioned to do last night. So sorry for the last minute notification, but let's just kind of get this through. So we're doing a 60% Alps build today. So what's nice about this particular build is it's pretty straightforward. It's not like doing a TKL. That frog we did a few days ago that was a very involved build. But these are pretty easy. So the basis of our build, we're going to kind of go over components. We're using a PCB. This is called the Steezy PCB. This is by Apple T. He's based out of Sweden. This is a really cool Alps PCB. It gets fully VIA compatible, which is really nice. So we're going to do a 60% tray mount PCB. Alps is, of course, one of the best ways for Alps in terms of plate material is going to be aluminum. This is a tray mount 60% aluminum Alps plate from Hype Keyboards. Tom over at Hype has been really, really awesome. He essentially is my go-to plate guy. He's made a ton of plates for my personal Alps builds and a bunch of my personal collection. And pretty much all the client Alps builds that we're doing are utilizing Tom's plates. So really big shout out to Tom over at Hype Keyboards. So the basis, so we're going to put these to the side. So what we're going to be doing, the basis of this particular board is going to be using probably one of my personal favorite switches. It's an Alps switch that a lot of people really kind of sleep on or just don't really bother with. So these are called the Alps SKCM black switches. So these are a tactile switch. These are from a little bit later during the Alps production in the 1990s. They're a tactile. They're for a little later in the Alps run. They had two versions of these. They had an earlier version that are kind of referred to as pine black switches, and these are the later versions of these black switches called bamboo. I think both are pretty comparable, but some people usually prefer the earlier iterations of this particular switch. But again, they're really cool. They have this nice, really kind of blackout color scheme. So they're really, really kind of stealthy. I actually have them in my personal build here, which we're going to have on stream. The keyboard we'll have on stream today. My personal, this is my AIO3 Polaris with Alps black switches. But these are a really cool switch. So very tactile. Alps have kind of a unique and kind of distinct sound. I'll kind of put mine up to the microphone and just kind of let you guys kind of hear what this board sounds like. Really kind of unique and kind of distinct sound. So a really fun switch. So I haven't actually had any client commissions do this. The client really was kind of more budget conscious on this particular build. So I kind of gave them a couple switch options that are very kind of are on the more affordable end of original Alps switches without going the reproduction Matthias switches. So I had the choice between white clicky switches, which are a much later version of clicky switches, or these black tactiles, and they opted to go with these. So really good switch. So I'm really happy. Again, I have a bunch of other commission builds that are going on, but really been popular have been the green linear Alps and then orange tactile Alps. I have a metric truckload of those for commission builds, but we're kind of focusing on this build today. Also, keycap selection today is going to be really cool. So we're using keycaps from a keyboard called the FK2001. So really, those were keyboards that are primarily produced in the 1990s, early 2000s. Another kind of keyboard within the Alps space, a lot of people just don't really care for. It's a really cool keycap set. So I'll kind of show you, and there's a couple cool things that we're going to do with this keycap set. So it's kind of a two-tone keycap set. So you're going to have this kind of darker beige, and then you're going to have this lighter beige. So that's going to be really nice in terms of keycap selection. But I think the really cool thing that we're going to do with this particular keycap set is we are using a big ass enter on this. And yes, that is the official name of this keycap, the big ass enter, or the BAE or Bay, whatever you want to call it. The big ass enter is really, really cool. Just to kind of show you what the difference of a big ass enter, I'll use my keyboard right here. So this is a standard keyboard layout. So your enter, this is an ANSI enter. This is an ANSI keyboard layout. Your enter is just this kind of line right here. And then you have above it, you have a /. What the big ass enter does, it kind of combines both of these buttons into one singular button. It gets rid of your /, and it makes your enter just this big ass enter. And that is the official name of it, which I think is absolutely hilarious. So really, really cool. So yeah, we're gonna use a big ass enter on this board today, which is gonna be really cool. Another thing about this keycap set, just to note, the original keycap set came with a split right shift. So the PCB that I have, we're using, it doesn't support split right shift. So I had to pull out I had to talk with the client and see what other right shifts I had that will kind of go with this, that come from other keycap sets. So this is a right shift that we're utilizing from an old Dell AT101W keyboard. So it fits the color scheme, and the legends on the actual keycap set are pretty close to this FK2001 keycap set. So this is the one keycap that's not going to be original to this particular keycap set, but overall still going to make for a really fun build, really nice build that we're going to get to the client. And then the case we're going to build it in is a GeonWorks Frog Mini Ligera. This isn't the actual case that we're going with for the client. The case we're ordering, I actually had to order from KBDFans. It's coming over all the way from Shanghai, so it's going to take about 2 weeks. So we're not going to see this build in its proper final form for a couple of weeks, but we're going to be building the primary internal assembly as the client is going to get it. And just for the purposes of stream today, we're going to use my personal Frog Mini Ligera case, which comes over from GeonWorks. I have this weight that I've also kind of scratched off the finish, so it eventually patinas over time as people touch it. So really cool. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to kind of put my keyboard, my personal build to the side, and we're going to get working on the stabilizer. That's usually what the first thing I like to do when I work on particular boards. So what we're going to be doing, I need to get out the caps that are going to be stabilized. So it's going to be our big S enter. It's going to be right shift. Let me just kind of dump the whole keycap set out. We are not using the whole keycap set. We're just using specific keycaps today. Of course, our spacebar, that's our biggest button. We have our left shift, and then we are looking for our backspace. So I got to dig through the keycaps here and look for my backspace. Nope. And there we go. So these are going to be our 5 primary stabilized keys that we're going to be working with. So I'll put the keycaps to the side, and I'll also get out the stabilizers. The stabilizers we are using are going to be original stabilizers from an FK2001. Those are going to be, those were specifically designed for these particular keycaps. So that's what's just going to work best. So again, we are using OG stabilizers, and most people who are familiar with Cherry MX, Alps stabilizers are kind of their own thing. It's a kind of the term that the best way to describe Alps stabilizers, they are plate mounted. So they actually mount to the plate, they don't mount to the PCB. So that's kind of a cool thing with the particular stabilizers as we're going to do it. So kind of walk you through my methodology in terms of assembling builds. But we're going to get out some switches first. So we're going to get out 5 switches for the stabilized keycaps. And then we're going to start installing and then lubing the stabilizer. That's always my first kind of step when I'm working on an Alps build. So there we go. We got 5 switches out here. So again, we got a nice healthy stock of these that we're going to utilize. So the first thing is there are little clips that we have to insert into the actual plate. That's going to be holding down our stabilizer wire. So I got to kind of pull out these stabilizer parts and pull out the little clips. That's what we're going to be installing first. So let me get my little pusher just to kind of help push the wires in. It just makes life a little bit easier. But we're going to kind of go through and get these. So that's going to be our first step, is installing the clips that are actually going to hold the wires to the actual plate. So I got 5 of them. I need a total of 10. So let me just look through my pile and get the remaining ones that I need. So really, really cool little board. But this is going to be a really fun build. Again, I've had a lot of client commissions coming in. Been doing a lot of higher end builds, mostly in Geon boards. But one thing that's really kind of cool with Alps, most of the Alps commissions I've been doing are pretty expensive. Again, these are not cheap builds to do. One thing that's nice, if you're looking for a more like budget-oriented Alps build, definitely look into Tray Mount 60. Again, any type of case that just allows you to slot in the internal PCB plate and switch assembly, like a Bakaneko, a Tofu Redux, a Frog Mini Ligera, or any kind of like Wuting case, absolutely would accommodate this, and those are probably your most budget option to get into Alps. And 60% are freaking awesome. I have several 60% Alps builds, and they're probably one of my personal favorites. So that's just a nice thing to know. Like, these are probably your most affordable way to get into Alps. What's up, Eric? So I know, right? So it's really cool. So yeah, so it's really cool. So this is a really nice little board. So like I said, I have a couple tray mount. Again, I actually have a tofu build for a tray mount 60 in my personal collection. Of course, I have my Frog Mini Ligera case. My Frog Mini Ligera, it's not put together because I'm currently waiting on a plate from Tom over at Hype Keyboards. So that's going to be pretty cool. So we just want to make sure that we get those assemblies in. So we're putting our clips in. I usually just use this little spudger just to kind of push these in because they're kind of a pain in the butt. But these clips have to be really tight because, they're holding down our stabilizer wire, and we don't want our stabilizer wires coming out. Now, Alps stabilizers, I install them first because once the board's fully assembled, the Alps stabilizers are kind of a pain in the butt to install. So that's why I just usually opt to do them first. That's just usually, it just makes life a little bit easier. Again, I usually just like installing them outside the case before we do any of the soldering. Another thing too with Alps, if you're interested in getting an Alps build, whether you want to do it yourself or commission me, there is no hot swap. So if you want to do a commission through me or build an Alps build yourself, you really want to do some research, listen to sound tests, talk to people, again, who are knowledgeable on Alps, whether you're talking through Careless. Careless runs a website called carolingian.com. He's kind of the go-to guy in terms of knowledge on building Alps keyboards in modern day keyboards. Another really good resource online is Shiro-san over on YouTube. He is a kind of like a really good encyclopedia online in terms of Alps information, but he primarily specializes in the original retro boards. Again, he has an extensive Alps collection. He has every major switch type. He has some of the rarest Alps keyboards that were produced in the 80s and 90s during the main production run of Alps. So two really good resources that give you a lot of really good information and knowledge on just Alps in general. So that's really good. I'm just kind of looking through my wires really quick. We just want to make sure we have everything we could want. Just looking through my wires really quick, just making sure. I may have to pull another wire out. That's fine. All right. I think it's that one. Oh, okay, cool. All right, we'll pull out wires in a little bit. So we're just kind of going through. But that's just the kind of thing. Like, just kind of two really good resources for Alps builds in general. So yeah, what's up, Eric? So yeah, we're gonna put your build together. This will probably take a couple hours. I mean, if you just want to treat it like a podcast, I'll just kind of be explaining what I'm gonna be doing. So Alps builds are pretty extensive, especially if you're doing like a TKO or like a full size. Again, they do take time, and I'll kind of show you what takes time. One of the things, all these switches have been restored, but the problem is there's a part of the honestly, these PCBs are really sturdy. Unless you're holding your soldering iron to the PCB for like a minute, like it usually takes like 1 to 2 seconds to like melt the solder to make the contact point, and that's usually fine. These are really hardy PCBs, and they can be desoldered several times before they kind of do it. So PCBs are really hardy. It's just like if you're just like stabbing the PCB with your soldering iron, you're probably going to kill it. But the PCBs are overall are very resilient, and you really have to like really be intentional about breaking it. Now, to be fair, I have killed some PCBs in my time of soldering. Most of the time when I've killed a PCB, it comes from desoldering. So that's why I usually try to avoid desoldering a board whenever possible. So like when I solder a board, I want to make sure the switches I choose those are going to be the switches it's going to have for like the end of time. And the nice thing about Alps switches, which is really cool, unlike Cherry MX, is you can work on the switches while they are soldered in. I'll kind of show you how you can, so you can actually open up the switches while they're soldered into the assembled board. So like say you need to clean the switches out, or there's a part that's being faulty, or you want to spring swap them, you can actually disassemble the switch without desoldering them. Whereas like Cherry MX switches, once they're soldered in, if you want to do like any modification, you got to desolder the switch. So that's really nice with Alps switches. And I wish that was something that when Cherry was developing their switch design, they really kind of incorporated that. That's one thing that made Alps really kind of cool in terms of working on them, is you can work on them while they're soldered in. And one thing that's cool, a little history lesson about Alps, they were primarily produced from the 1970s all the way until about the early 2000s, which kind of their dominance really was in the 80s and 90s. Like especially during the 1980s, Alps was bigger than Cherry. Like Alps absolutely dominated the market. Of course, you had also IBM. IBM was like top dog in the 80s with like the Model M, the Model F. But followed by them close second, and then the keyboard world would have been, again, Alps Electric, and then, of course, would have been Cherry kind of in third place. And then once we get in the 90s, for the early 90s, Alps still was kind of top dog, but when you get into the late 90s, early 2000s, things are kind of shifting in the keyboard market. Mechanical keyboards were expensive, and they were also really loud. And most of these keyboards were built for office and work settings, so they were in schools, they were in colleges. So once these so a lot of businesses and colleges and things like that wanted some keyboards that were cheaper and they wanted quieter. So they switched over to membrane keyboards. And Alps really just couldn't really compete with that, and they really didn't want to have to deal with that. So in the early 2000s, Alps Electric sold off their keyboard division, and they kind of stepped away from the keyboard world. And Alps Electric is still around today, but they focus more on the industrial sector in terms of electronics. They're not in the consumer electronics side anymore. So again, they're more like enterprise industrial clients, things like that. So Alps is still around. They're based in Japan. But they haven't produced keyboard stuff in like almost 30 years. So it's just pretty interesting. But it's a really cool history of the company and what they just kind of did overall for a long time. Like, again, like when we think of mechanical keyboards today, like you think Cherry, and to a lesser extent like the old IBMs, like the Model M, of course, is like the OG classic. But really, Alps was like top dog for a very, very long time. So that's what's kind of cool. And Alps has kind of had a resurgence. Yeah. Oh, nice, dude. Yeah, I mean, this is a really good keyboard. I mean, the thing with Alps, too, they are not a quiet switch. Like, I have they made a clicky version, they made tactile, they made linears. They have two Alps switches that are called dampened tactiles. They put these little rubber dampeners on the sides of them. So this little part that the keycap interfaces in that you're pushing down, that's the slider. They put little rubber stoppers inside on both sides of it, on both sides of this switch, and that was an attempt to make them a little quieter. It's kind of debatable. It's still a loud switch, realistically. So but overall, like Alps, I think really was just kind of ahead of their time, and they really did some good stuff for the market. So I really enjoy tinkering with them and working with them. I actually got into Alps like 3 months ago, and I've just kind of become an overnight expert. And that's quoting Careless, who's like the expert on like modern day like Alps builds. So it's just been kind of fun. Like I just kind of went head first into it. I gotta pull out a bigger stabilizer wire for one of my for my left shift. Oh, that's way too big. Okay, it's okay. Wait, is this gonna work? Give me a second. Give me a second. I need to look for another wire. That one may be too big, but we might do this one. There we go. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right, cool. Yeah, we're going with that one. Cool. All right, just had to pull out a wire for my thing. So, oh yeah, I'm glad this will be a daily driver. I mean, I take my Alps board. I mean, I have a pretty extensive keyboard collection. I mean, if you look at my Instagram page, most of the keyboards photographed on my Instagram page are part of my personal collection, and my personal collection is growing. I have a ton of boards coming in on group buy within the next 2 weeks. So I got into the keyboard hobby Q3 of 2023. So I came in after like the COVID boom. I've been into custom built computers for a very, very long time. Like I've rocked a mechanical keyboard for well over a decade. I used an old Corsair K95 for almost 10 years. So like I've been using mechanical keyboards for a while, but like actually building one and getting into the custom scene was very, very recent for me. So the last 2 years, my first board was a KBDFans 8X Mark III, which, and I tell people that was my first board, they think, holy crap, that's like endgame. I'm like, I don't know, I guess buy once, cry once. It was kind of my opinion. So like another thing too with keyboards, like I'm very much into like the higher end niche of keyboards. Not to say like the more affordable stuff is bad. Like it's fantastic. Like the people at like QWERTY Keys, OmniType, Canon Keys, like a lot of the big vendors doing some amazing work within the space on making the hobby more affordable and more accessible than ever. Like huge shout out to QWERTY Keys. Like their Neo line is outstanding. Like I'm not sponsored by them. I built a family member a Neo 65 for their home office setup, and it's for $60-$70. That is like fantastic. Or like the Test 65, I just built that on stream for a buddy last weekend for $85. That is an amazing keyboard. It's full aluminum, steel weight, like all the plate options, solder or hot swap or tri-mode PCB. Like, it's amazing. Like, there's amazing things going on in the hobby that makes it more accessible. But once you get into it, oh, dude, the Neo 75 CU is amazing. That is an amazing board. I do like 75s. I got a Jelly Evolve, I got a TGR Tomo, and I got KBDFans the base 75 recently. The Neo 75 CU is awesome. That is a awesome board. So like major props to that. So we're gonna start lubing. So what we're gonna kind of do is we want to lube any portion of the board that's going to have contact. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to lube these little clips here where the wires actually clip in. These are actually little stabilizer holes right here that are going to stabilize the spacebar, keeping it from wobbling side to side. And then we're also going to lube the portions of the wires that clip in, and also these top portions of the wire that are going to clip into the bottom of the actual keycaps. So it's a really kind of cool thing. But yeah, the Neo 7570, like getting back to that, it's like that's a really cool board. Like I said, like QWERTY keys, like I just really believe in what they're doing. Like also them owning Owl Labs is really cool. Like I'm a big fan of Owl Labs. Like I think Owl Labs does some really cool custom stuff. I mean, I have a Jelly Evolve just because of the history of what it did for the hobby. It's such a cool board and it's super clean. Like, so yeah, but like I think that's really cool is like the Jelly Evolve, honestly, like with the Neo 75 existing, there's really no, unless you want like it for the collector, like the historical value in the hobby, honestly, there's no point in getting a Jelly Evolve. I mean, you can find them aftermarket for like $600. They're not cheap, but like the Neo 75 CU uses pretty much all of the tech and the design elements that the Jelly Evolve used for like a third of the price. So like it uses the ball catch, like quick release disassembly system of the case. Like the mounting system is basically the same. So like that's the one nice thing about QWERTY keys owning Owl Labs is like you can like QWERTY keys is bringing a lot of design elements that were historically reserved for like the super boutique, small run, high end boards into the kind of their mainstream, more affordable lines like the Neo, like their main QK line. So like I just have a lot of love and respect for the folks over at QWERTY keys. I think what they're doing for the hobby is a good thing. Like they're bringing really cool designs and really amazing things that are going to bring more people into the hobby. Because again, like the average person isn't crazy like me or like the enthusiasts we see on Discord and Reddit who have multiple keyboards. Your average person who wants a mechanical keyboard, they just want one keyboard and that's all they're ever going to buy. And they also probably don't want to spend an ungodly amount of money. So like the average person spending $100 on a keyboard is absolutely insane. So like so that's why I think like QWERTY keys and other companies like OmniType and like Divinity with these entry level projects, and I feel bad calling them entry level. Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. They're a dope vendor overall, and again, I would love to be able to work with them eventually. Like again, I really want a QK101 eventually. Like I've been on a full size kick, so full size boards are like one of my personal favorites. But the problem is there's outside of like Keychron, I mean, and no digs at Keychron, but like there really haven't been custom options for full sizes. Outside of like super small run group buys that are like super, and you're paying like $600-700 for a board, which I have joined those. I have a Matrix Labs 100 NG. That was a very limited run on a raffle, and I got lucky getting that board, and I paid MSRP. Like that board was $700, and they only made 70 of them, and you had to buy it through a raffle. I got lucky and found a guy local to me who actually bought one. He said, "I'll sell it to you at MSRP," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll meet you tonight." So I bought that a couple months ago when they got delivered. And then I also bought a Darien a DN Works 925 full size from Darien. Another really expensive full size, very, very small run. Darien only made about 40 of them. I also have the Linworks Dolphin Max coming in from Key Spencery, which is Linworks, another really cool design studio. Very small run board, very expensive. I also have the Vertex full sizes coming in. So I got the Seal and I got the S100. And I think the S100 next to like the QK101, I think if someone wants a full size, get an S100, get a QK100. Like for like $200-ish, both of those boards are amazing, and they're gonna like I mean, no digs at Keychron, but I think the thing with Keychron, they're mass producing boards, and again, like that's like Keychron's producing every model by the 1,000, and it really shows in the design. The designs work; they're very industrial, but they're kind of boring. But again, I get why they design their boards the way they do, because again, they have to produce thousands and thousands of them that are going to be sent to vendors around the world. So I get why Keychron does their design so simple, because again, they're cranking them out. And there's a reason why Keychron is in like your Micro Centers, on Amazon, Best Buy, like they're in like every freaking vendor, is because again, like they produce a metric truckload of them. So like I get it, but like their just designs are pretty boring. Personally, but if someone's on a really tight budget, sometimes Keychron is usually the best option. I mean, if you want RGB backlight, if you want Bluetooth, like you want a full size, that's not going to break the bank. Sometimes like Keychron is going to be pretty good. So yeah, I mean they're fine for what they are. Like again, I'm not going to like diss them in any way, but like if someone's really looking for a board, like I'm going to recommend a QWERTY keys, because it's the same price point. And you get, the materials are going to be better, your manufacturing is going to get better, and you're going to get cooler designs at the end of the day. Like, again, like a Neo 65 for $70, how can you beat that? That's so cool. And you can get a brass weight with it. Like, that's awesome. So, like, that's what I think. So, like, I love it. And it's weird, too, because my mother's home office setup, I got her a Keychron K6 full size, and she loves it, and it's a great board. And again, my mother could care less about technology or like custom things. She just wanted a keyboard that works. She just wants to be able to plug it in. When she presses the keys, it works. So like for users who really don't care and they just want a mechanical keyboard, sure, Keychron's awesome. So yeah, but I mean it's a cool one. Yeah, they have a Black Myth Wukong board, which I think it'd be really cool. And also Keychron is based in China. So, like, that kind of makes sense. Black Myth Wukong was, like, a smash hit over in China based on, like, Chinese mythology. I played it. I really enjoyed it. Like, it was kind of cool. I like history, and, like, Chinese history is really cool. So, like, being able to play a game very much inspired by, like, Chinese folklore, like, ancient Chinese history was really freaking cool. But, yeah, we're lubing these wires in, so they're coming in, which is really, really nice. Now, another thing, too, with the right shift, its wire is a little bit longer, just because it is a really big key compared to the other ones. So that's why the wire for this particular stab is a little bit longer. It's not as big as the space bar, but really kind of good. So we're just kind of getting these in. And once we get the stabilizers tuned, then we'll solder these ones in to kind of hold the plate assembly in place, and then we'll test them. And then I'll kind of show you why these boards kind of take forever and why they're kind of a pain in the ass. I'll kind of show you, because we're going to have some, you'll just kind of see when we get to it. So we just want to put some more lube there. So, we're just adding all this lube to make these boards nice and nice. There we go. Cool. So really good board. So yeah, it'll be cool. But yeah, overall, like the market I think is really good. And I'm kind of glad I came in after the dark times of COVID, because like I've had people in the hobby. I've met people at meetups who have been in the hobby a lot longer than I have. And they tell me like during COVID how hard it was to get boards, or like people paying $600 for a board that's like $200 because that's all you can get. Like I'm kind of glad we're past those dark times of COVID, because that just is ridiculous to me personally. So I really like that. I think the hobby's in a really good spot. And I think that's really good too. I think the people who kind of bought into like the hype or like impulse bought during COVID, I think have kind of left, or just like are just more quiet and less active. So I think it's really cool now, like being able to interact on a lot of the servers, being on like r/mechanical keyboards, Mech Market. Another thing too, like this is a great time to buy used keyboards. A lot of my keyboards in my collection, especially the more obscure boards, I bought on Mech Market secondhand, and I paid either MSRP or below MSRP, which is really nice. So it's also a great time to buy boards that are a little bit older. Like there's so many great boards and great deals. Like I have a couple RamaWorks boards. Those used to go for like $600-700 during COVID. You can get them for like $200-300 now. Like you can get I just sold my RamaWorks U80 for like $225-250, and that was pretty sweet. Because the U80, it really didn't connect with me, and I also had 2 other RamaWorks boards, so like I really didn't care for having 3 RamaWorks boards, and that was the one I was least attached to. So, and I think too, also just for group buys too, I think we're also in a good spot for group buys. I mean, there's so many great group buys going on right now. I mean, we have Alex Odos and Bull's Manta 65% coming up, which is an absolute sick project. I think that's such a cool project, and I mean, Alex Odos is a creator within the space I really, really admire and really look up to. He's just always a good vibe, and if something's wrong with the board, he always gives it constructively. He's not gonna like tear the creator apart and say that everything about this sucks. Like, if he doesn't like a board, he's gonna say it, but he'll give like constructive feedback and like, hey, like these are my areas of criticism, and here are my suggestions on how to make it better. Yeah. Oh, dude. Well, you can get it from KBDFans, but like I said, like it's like also like really expensive. Like I would love a patina tofu redux, but like it's like $200 something, and do I really want to pay $200 for a tofu redux? Oh yeah, dude. Alex is a good guy. I know he's based in Toronto, because I'm Los Angeles based. So like, I would love for, because here in Los Angeles we have Keeb Life, which is one of the biggest keyboard meetups on the West Coast here in the United States. So like, I would love for Alex one year to come down to Keeb Life. I'll be at Keeb Life in September. I was at the Divinity meet recently, and it was really nice meeting the team at Divinity. I'm actually going to be doing some partnerships with Divinity. It's funny, Divinity is actually really close to where I am in Los Angeles, which is really nice. But what I want to do with Divinity is they watched my Test 65 stream last week. So I had the CEO of Divinity on my stream last weekend when I was building a Test 65 for my friend, because we joined the original Test 65 group by late last year. We got our boards in a couple months ago, but I built mine almost immediately. My buddy has just been busy with life, and he didn't have time. He's just been busy with work and other things and whatnot. So he asked me if I'd want to build it, and he said I could build it on stream. So I said, cool. So I put it on the Divinity server, and the freaking CEO of Divinity is like watching the stream, which is like awesome, and he really liked it. So they're interested in making me like a media affiliate. So like possibly having me on the list of people who like do reviews for them. It's really easy because like, they don't have to mail me anything. I literally can drive, like, I don't know, less than 30 minutes to the Divinity corporate offices, pick up something, and then go back to my place. So, like, it's really nice being so close to them. And also, they want to commission me in the future to do a commissioned Alps build, which is going to be really cool. Yeah, the Divinity guys are awesome. I love them, and to be able to work with them in the future, like, whether it be, like, reviewing products or giving feedback on how to make those products better, I think is really cool. And they're really down to earth. Like, Divinity is just a group of guys and gals who just were passionate about keyboards and wanted to make a vendor that they believed in and that sold stuff that they would buy themselves. I think that's what's really kind of cool. And the really cool thing here in Los Angeles, we have a lot of users are here. Like the guy who organizes Keeb Life and Amushi K or Frank, like is based here in LA. Like we have Chicken Man, Cole, Norbauer is based here. It's really cool. So we have a lot of really great creators who are based right here in Los Angeles. So there's a really nice large community here, and it's nice having all those connections here. And again, like I said, I'm going to be getting some boards from creators to review on stream and to kind of promote. I'm going to get there's one board I'm really passionate about. It's called the BP1 from Luke Barrett at Baron Boards. He's a huge supercar fan, particularly McLaren. And he's building a board that's themed after the McLaren P1 supercar. They only made a handful of those supercars from like 2013 to 2015. It's like a $2 million car, by the way. So he's making a board that is themed after that. So he has 3 prototypes in hand, and he's trying to get it to group buy. What's kind of the holdup right now is the complex political situation here in the United States with regards to importing things and tariffs. I'm not here to talk politics because that's neither here nor there. It's just the reality we live in. But what he's navigating right now, because if he produces it in the United States to kind of avoid the tariffs, it's going to be like, I don't know, on $1,000 board. Because it's also, they're not going to make a lot just because that's just, they don't have the demand to make a few thousand. They're probably going to make like 50 to 100 of the boards. So there's that. The other thing he's navigating is trying to make it in China where everyone else does, but with import tariffs, it might be the same price. So he's kind of his group buy project is kind of on hold right now, just so he can kind of navigate the kind of crazy dynamic we have here in the United States. So I'm hoping he can get the project off the ground because it's a sick board, and he's gonna mail me one of the prototypes probably in August. He's out of the country right now. So once he gets back, he's going to send me the prototype, and he said I can have it for a few weeks to kind of make content on it, do some photographs. I want to take it actually to the Peterson Automotive Museum here in Los Angeles. It's like an amazing car museum, and they have a McLaren P1 and some other McLarens in their like collection at the museum on display. So I definitely want to take it to the museum and ask the staff like, hey, can I take pictures of this keyboard next to the cars, like of course behind the ropes. because I also don't want to damage like a $2 million car. And also Luke's very expensive prototypes. I mean, the prototypes aren't as expensive as the fucking cars, but sorry, excuse my language, but that's just something that's cool. Another board I'm getting in is the QFRL 100. It's an F-Rollless full size coming from the Bloody Ez, which is really cool. So that's a project that's been in the works for a few years. The creator, I reached out to the creator, and what's cool about all of his boards coming up, they're Alps compatible, which is super sick. So, side note, we're installing the big ass enter finally, my favorite key. So let me just kind of get it clipped in, and we'll get her in there. There we go. All right, look at that big ass enter. It is awesome. We got Bay in there. Look at that. We got Bay. Awesome. I love the big ass enter. So really, really cool. Love the big ass enter. And again, that is its official name, by the way, which I think is just hilarious. So we love our big ass enters here. That's just a fun time. So we're just now lubing the wire for the right shift. Probably going to get some more 205G0 from my new bottle. But yeah, so once the stabs are done, the soldering can begin, and that's where most of the time this morning on stream usually takes for the build process. It's usually a bit of a long one. Yeah, the stabs, once you lube them, they're a lot better. It's just how Alps work. Again, they're very different from Cherry MX. They're just kind of their own thing. Everything about, that's another thing with Alps too, like, they're very much their own thing. Like, they take their own plate, they take their own PCB, they take their own stabilizer pattern. Like, Alps very much was their own thing in terms of design. I mean, there are things similar. I mean, it is a switch that you press down and it registers a key press. Like, that's really the only similarity with them and Cherry. But I always tell people with Alps, you kind of have to throw the knowledge you have of the keyboard hobby out the window when you get into Alps. Like, for example, you don't lube these switches. Like, if you throw 205G0, you're going to ruin these switches. You don't lube these switches. If you want to lube these, you have to use a very specific dry lube, and you only apply it to the slider, and you have to let the lube dry thoroughly overnight, or else you're still will ruin the switch. So these are very finicky. I personally don't lube lube the Alps switches. I do a thorough restoration work when I clean these switches up, and again, after my thorough cleaning, the switches are basically like how they felt back in the day in the 80s and 90s. So that's just kind of the thing with Alps. Like, they're very, very particular. And again, you have to very much just kind of not treat them like Cherry switches, because they are not. They are very much their own thing. And that's just kind of important to note with Alps. They're just kind of their own little beast and animal. And I tell people too, like, these aren't for the faint of heart. These are not beginner builds. You have to be very comfortable with soldering and also troubleshooting. These are very, very involved builds that are very different. And that's why I've kind of found a niche in kind of doing commissioned Alps builds for people. Because, again, these are pretty advanced for soldering, but also, like, as you're going to see when we start soldering, we're going to have dead switches, even after restoration. I'll kind of explain what usually gives out on a switch. Thankfully, I have a metric crap load of switches, so we have more than enough to do your build here today. But there we go. So we have our modifiers, and that beige right here from that Dell set matches perfectly. So I think that's a really good color match on this set. So I think we did really good on that right shift. So now here's the almighty space bar, which is always kind of a pain in the butt. So we're going to get that space bar. So we got our space bar wire. So we'll lube that in a second, and we want to get our mounts attached. And there's a few points of contact that we have to lube on the space bar. So essentially what we're going to be doing, we want to lube these black things right here that are going to hold the wire in place. We have these stabilizer posts too right here. That's just going to keep the space bar from wobbling back and forth that way. And then we also want to lube the interior of those stabilizer posts. And of course, we already did the clips right there. And of course, we're going to do the wire where it goes into the holders and also the clips. So the space bar is the most involved. And probably the biggest pain, like Alps space bars are kind of a pain in the ass. But hey, it works, and we're gonna get it going. So we're going in right there. Cool. We got good old YouTube going too. So, and again too, also we have another thing too. This stream will be available on my YouTube channel. So again, Twitch, the streams only stay on for a few days, but they will be on indefinitely on the YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the VOD version of this, you are welcome to if you want to share with people or you just want to learn how to do an Alps build yourself. Again, you basically can kind of follow along with these kind of video guides, and that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going through. We got those, again, we're just doing these clip holders. Just getting all that lube in there so these don't rattle. Because rattly stabilizers, again, not something I particularly like on builds, and I don't think the client will like that either. So we want to make sure that that's nice and lubed. Now we're going to add lube to these stabilizer posts right here. So we're just going to lightly lube the stabilizer posts. Make sure that is all nice and lubed, and then we'll do the second stabilizer post, and then we'll start doing the wire and then other portions. But yeah, it's a really cool design. But Alps overall, I really like them. There's also just fun historical value with these boards too. Like, I think they're just really, really cool boards, and it sucks that Alps Electric doesn't make keyboards anymore, because I really wish they would come back, but it kind of is what it is, and Alps are a very niche thing within this hobby. We're a very small community of enthusiasts. I mean, if you go on like r/mechanical keyboards, again, like Cherry is top dog today. But again, you'll see like some people who like Alps or like the old buckling springs or like Model Fs and IBM stuff. So we are there, and it's cool going to the meets. Like at this point, when I go to keyboard meets, I basically just take my Alps builds because like, I have rare builds. I have a Kohaku. Like, when I went to the Divinity meet, there were like 4 Kohakus there. I didn't bring mine because I knew there would be Kohakus. Even though that's a rare board and it's a cool board, everyone's probably seen a Kohaku at one point or is going to see one because, like, a bunch of people are going to bring that board to the meet. So, like, for me, like, I like to bring... The Alps builds are cool because I know for a fact I'm going to be the only guy at the meet who brings Alps builds because I'm weird that way. So, we just got that. Space bar. We're just going to lube these internal parts of this post really quick, and then we'll be good. So I want to just lube that. Got some lube in there, and then we'll be good to put this space bar on, and then I think we should be good with all of our lubing. So there we go. Cool. All right. Now, just want to do a little bit of this wire really quick, where it's going to interface and click in. Alright, let's not do too much like that. There we go. Alright, cool. Alright, let's interface this puppy in. Alright. Now, Alps space bars are kind of a pain in the ass, so give me a second. They're very finicky, but once you get them clicked in, they are in. Okay. Got him. All right, we are victorious. Awesome. Cool. All right, space bars are in. Oh, dude, if you bring your Alps build to the Keep Life, please do. Please bring this board to Keep Life. Like, it's nice. Because I'll tell you, too, another thing. It's just cool. Like, most people have zero experience with these particular boards. And I guess especially the case that the final case we're going to go with is going to be freaking sick. So here are our stabilized keycaps. So those are all stabilized. So I'm going to put my lube supplies away. And I'm going to clean up my stabilizers just so we can start getting ready to do soldering. So let me just put all my stabilizer parts away, and then we'll get this going. Just because, again, these are OG stabilizer parts, and I don't want to lose these. So it just makes life a little bit easier. So, all right. So we're just going to put these away. But yeah, Keep Life, definitely. I love to see more builds. I know Frank did an Alps build, who's the host of Keep Life, who puts it on. So I'd love for Frank to bring his Alps build. And if other people who have Alps builds, please bring them to Keep Life. It's also nice seeing stuff that's not Cherry. Like, when I went to the Viniki meet, there was actually a lot more Topre builds than I thought there would be. So, like, there were some Norbauer builds, there were HHKBs, there were Real Force boards, which I thought was awesome. So it's really nice seeing stuff that's not Cherry. Like, I love Topre. I've gotten into Topre, too. Like, Topre... I also tell people, if you get in, like, you think Cherry MX is expensive in this high, wait till you get into Topre and Alps. It blows anything expensive in Cherry out of the water. It's just so friggin' expensive. So, but yeah, we got this. So now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put my keycaps aside. I'm going to fire up my soldering iron, and we're going to get this, we're going to start soldering. So let me get my, soldering iron is warming up. So we're going to kind of pull the assembly apart, and we're going to line it up with the corresponding holes on our PCB. So that's really good. So let me just get all the holes lined up and make sure we are lined up and ready to go. We've got our pins poking through. Awesome. We got our space bar. Yeah, cool. All right. Fantastic. So, all right, folks, we're going to start soldering these in. So we're actually going to do soldering in waves. I'm going to kind of walk you through the part of the build that is the most involved in terms of soldering, because we're going to kind of see the troubleshooting, because there's certain points in these switches you're going to see some of these switches disassembled, but the part that has the switch that has the pins that poke through the PCB and that you solder, that's attached to a piece of the switch called the contact plate. Now that's the part that usually will break and give out. They usually corrode or just kind of break down over time. It's not very common. I'd say for every 100 switches, you may have 2 or 3 contact plates that break. So that's why I have a metric crapload of parts and switches on hand. So you're going to kind of, and the only way to really test them is you got to solder them in and you got to plug it into VIA and do the switch tester. So I'm really hoping our stabilized keys switches are good, because I really don't want to have to desolder those and redo stabilizers again. But yeah, let's get these in, and then we're going to kind of go from there. So I'm just kind of lining up everything, making sure we look nice and happy. And we look good. So I'm going to solder in some points. Cool. All right, let me just see how that came out. Fantastic. Let's just line that up really quick. Nice. Lining up everything. Fantastic. So, yeah, we're just going to... Oh, forgot. Also, if you solder, try to turn my vent on. This is my little vent. It sucks in all the fumes. So, just want to make sure we get everything going. All right. Cool. Got that shift in. That's pretty good. I want to get my space bar attached now. Okay, let's get that space bar fully seated. Cool. Space bar is fully attached. That's good. And then we're going to do our next pin right here. Awesome. Cool. Got space bars to my other 3 modifier keys, and then we are going to solder again, do some checks. Alright, let's see. Just make sure that one is nice and in. Cool. Got that one in. Alright, so we're going through, so we're just kind of soldering in. And also, too, Alps, there is no hot swap, so your only bet, if you're going to do an Alps build yourself, is solder. Again, that's just kind of the way to go. These builds were never hot swap back in the day, so solder is your only way to go. But soldering isn't that bad. Most of my personal collection at this point is going to be solder boards. So that's, and honestly, I prefer solder boards at this point. Like, especially when you get into like the higher end segment of the keyboard hobby, solder is usually the only way to go. Cool. Making sure we're all good there. That one's good. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of solder right here. And then we're going to get this show going. Look at that. Alright. So that one in. Let's push that down. Cool. Just making sure it all looks good. Perfect. All right. Put the soldering iron to the side. Just clean off my soldering tip. Perfect. All right. Now, we have our 5 stabilized keys soldered into the PCB. So that is really good. So again, we have our backspace, we got our big ass enter, we got our right shift, we got our space bar, we have our left shift. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm actually going to plug the PCB into my computer, and we're going to open up the switch tester in VIA. Also, another thing for the client, you do have RGB on the back. The case you're choosing isn't really going to matter. I usually just turn it off. I could care less for backing, but it is an option. So hey, in the future, if you want a polycarbonate case, go for it. So give me a minute. Hello, just check in. So there we go. Oh man, Black Simon's on Twitch right now too. Look at that. My favorite angry man in the keyboard hype. All right, I got VIA open. Everything is registered here. So again, PCB looks good. So I just want to go to layouts. Okay, we have one. Just checking it, make sure we got. Give me a minute. All right, cool. All right. We're just going to set up the key map. We're going to get rid of this because we're not having that one. All right, cool. All right. Let's see how everything is programmed. Perfect. So I'm going to go to my key tester, and we're going to test our keycaps. So, all right. Left shift works just fine. That's good. Spacebar, fantastic. Right shift, perfect. Backspace, awesome. Big ass enter. All right, money. So switches are good. So now we're gonna start soldering in waves. So we're gonna start putting in other some of our other switches. Let me get my little VIA switch tester out of the way. All right, there we go. I'm just gonna put that in a little window just so we have access to it. Yeah, RGB equals faster typing. I like it. So yeah, it's good. So we're gonna dump out some switches here, and we're gonna start working on them. So here are our black switches right here. So let me just put my little bag over here. But again, we got a nice healthy amount of switches, and again, these switches are primarily gonna come from the 1990s. So that just kind of gives I'd say like middle part of the 90s. These switches are from. So hey, the 90s were a great time. So it's good. It's pretty sweet. So we're going to start installing our switches. I do them in parts, so I don't put all the switches in at once. I kind of do them in waves just so I can test each section. So we're going to do kind of the outer portion of the PCB first, and then we'll start doing the number row and then the alpha rows. But I'm going to start off with these 3 and then our bottom row first. So we're going to do these switches first. Also, since this is another thing too about this board, you're getting a 7U spacebar. So you'll have the 1.5U control and alt, and then the 1U Windows keys. The one nice thing about this board for my client, you can also reprogram everything on this board. You can do layers. It's fully VIA compatible, so you can control the lights in the back. So that's nice. So I'm going to set it up just kind of the way I do it, but you will have full customization in VIA on this. There's nothing that you'll have to do in terms of flashing or QMK or anything like that. This is just plug and play when you get the PCB. So really, really nice to be able to have all that customization. And that's one of the nice things about modern Alps builds, or having a modern PCB in an original Alps build, is having that QMK customizability. Because if you get it like an original like Alps keyboard, you're probably using old standards like PS2 or even proprietary standards like some of the old Macintosh keyboards. So being able to have like that customization and also having like USB-C is really, really nice. So you get like the old school keyboard feel, but you get like the old school feel of Alps, but you get like the new modern features of the modern day keyboard scene. So that's really nice. So we're gonna install again these side ones and then do our bottom row, and then we'll test those, and then we'll start doing our number row. So if we have any dead switches, then we'll be able to kind of walk you through if there's any dead switches that we got to deal with. So let's start soldering in some other portions of this. So let's kind of turn my solder vent on, and we'll kind of go from there. So let me put my bag over here. There we go. Let's get this one going, folks. So let's start putting in some switches. All right, let's make sure that's all level. Sorry, I'm just checking. There's no gap in between our switches and whatnot. Yeah, we're good. Awesome, awesome. So, yeah, we're just soldering in. Cool. Awesome. Cool. Got those two switches in. We'll do our bottom row keycaps. Oh, we got to do our escape really quick. All right. Cool. Our escape is in, so we have all of our side keys. We're just going to do our bottom row. So that's what we want to see right here. So yeah, RGB does equal faster typing. I agree with that. So makes your keyboard go faster. Cool. Now that one in. It's kind of going through. So going through, getting it done, folks. Good luck. You're going to have to make them yourself. So if you want an artisan, you got to take a note. So the thing with Alps, they use their own proprietary keycap stem. So you're going to have to like, I can send, so Epic, I can send you the link to Carolos's Discord. That's like the go-to Discord server for modern day Alps building. And the people there would probably have an idea for you, but you'd probably have to commission one from someone. Like, you'd have to send them, like, an original Alps keycap, and they would have to do some kind of design on the keycap. Again, Alps, also with keycaps, your options are very limited. Like, you either use original keycaps, you use a company called Taihao, which they're a company that produces modern production Alps keycaps, which are really cool. Or you can have to track down one of the 6 DCS Alps keycap sets, which those are really hard to find and they're really, really expensive. So those are really your only options. Like, you're very, very limited on keycaps. Another thing too with Alps, you're also very limited on keycap color. Like, especially with like a lot of your OG sets, beige, white, handful of black sets. So, like, especially if you're going to do like a modern Alps build, I really recommend using your, if you want bright color, find a case that meets the color aesthetic you really want. Yeah, Alps are their own thing, and again, they are very much a niche within a niche in this hobby. But they are really cool. Really cool switches, really cool boards. So, just kind of making sure everything is properly seated. That one's good. Yeah, we're just making sure all these switches are good to go. Alright, that one's good. Awesome. Let's do this window key. Alright. Awesome. Those are done. I got 3 more I got to do, and then we'll do a quick test, and then we'll start doing the number row. So, just making sure all of our switches are good to go, making sure they're nice and seated. Awesome. Just make sure that's seated. There we go. Yeah, these Alps are going to be really cool. This is going to be a fun build. Like, it's a really cool build, and I personally love 60% Alps. And that's another thing with Alps too. Since keycap options are so limited, you can't do, like, you really are really limited to either a 100% full size, which those are really hard to find in terms, especially on the custom end, the modern boards end scene, TKLs or 60%. You can't do like the fancy layouts like 65s or like an 1800 or like a 75. Because it really limits the keycaps. There are keycap sets you can use, but it's just really hard for compatibility. Sorry, excuse me. Swallowed something wrong. So that's just like a big thing. So like with Alps, realistically, your main thing is you're going to be I really recommend TKLs or 60%. 60%, something tray mount, if you're gonna go the TKL route, I really recommend a Geon board. Like whether it be like I'm doing a few Geon builds right now. Most of the TKLs I'm doing are based around Geon boards, like Frogs, F18Xs, 722s. Like my two Alps TKLs are a Geon F18X and a Geon F18X 722. So like Geon boards are great for the TKL side of Alps because Geon boards use a PCB standard. They use the H88, H87 PCB, which you can get Alps PCBs that support that standard. And then they essentially just drop right into Geon boards, which are really nice. So because Geon is really nice because he doesn't use custom PCBs. So like if you wanted to make like a really custom board like Alps, it'd be really hard. You'd have to put a lot of work in to get that PCB right. Like for example, like a Matrix Lab board. Matrix Labs, everything on those boards is custom. There's nothing off the shelf in a Matrix Labs board. So like it'd be very hard making a Matrix Labs board Alps because everything on that board is custom. There's no standard in Matrix in terms of their stuff. So you're very limited. Like there's a very limited list of boards, and if you had a specific board, like we could do it, but we'd have to probably get a plate made too. Because another thing too with Alps, in addition to having a compatible PCB, you got to have a compatible plate. So tray mount 60 is nice because this assembly right here would go into a lot of different boards, which is really nice. So let me turn off my little vent. Let's figure out. So we have our bottom row. We have all of our modifier keys. So I'm going to test those really quick and make sure that those switches are 100% good. It's just when you have switches that are approaching 30 plus years old, again, things do break or give out even after restoration. So you just want to make sure that everything is 100% and good to go. So, all right, space bar is still good. All right. Oh, I got to change my. Give me a second. I got to redo my. I gotta open VIA again. Give me a second. I gotta program some things on the board. Okay, give me a second. Okay. All right, that's gonna be left. Okay. Right Alt. Give me a minute. Okay, and we're gonna do left Windows, and then right Windows. Cool. All right, now let's test this PCB. Cool. Now we're all programmed. Give me a second. There we go. Cool. Just programming everything just so it looks right. All right. Escape is good. What's up, Unreal? What's up, dude? Tab looks really good. Let's see our caps lock. Caps lock is solid. Of course, our left shift looks good. Left control is solid. Left Windows is good. Left Alt. Space bar is solid. We have our right Alt. Right Windows looks good. And then, yeah. Hold up. Okay, give me a second. I got to do one more programming on the board. I'm just going to do MO. Alright, it's going to be a right Alt. Oh, wait, right control. Give me a second. Yeah, just double checking. Again, we do things in waves when I solder just to make sure. And then our control works. Cool. All right. All these buttons work. We're good. So let's move on to our number row. So we're going to put in our number row, and then we'll solder that in, and then we'll get it going. I know. Thanks, Unreal. It's pretty good. So, yeah, but we're doing a client build here today. This client literally reached out to me last night, and I wasn't planning on doing a stream this morning, but I asked them, I said, like, hey, like, I have all the parts on hand for your build. Like, let's just, are you cool if I put it on stream tomorrow? He said, yeah, it's cool with me, man. I'm like, sweet. I got you. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So we're building this one on stream. We're going with black Alps. So these are going to be your black tactile Alps. They are from a little bit later on in Alps production. So these would come from probably the early to mid 90s. This is one of the later switches Alps produced during their time of manufacturing computer switches and keyboards, which is pretty good. So, but these are a really good switch. I really like them. I have them in my AIO 3 Polaris build. This is my blackout Alps build. So AO3, really cool. Really cool board. So I got the Black Alps. I got DCS Reaper on here. So this is my Black Beauty build. So really cool board. So I love it. So this is my first commission using Black Alps. A lot of like most of the commissions right now that I'm doing, they wanted linear green Alps or orange tactile Alps. Like I have restored a metric crap ton of both of those switches. Like, and I still have more to restore. Like, these are all the green Alps I've restored. There's probably like 200 of them in here. Like there's a lot of time in these switches. So, and I also have all these orange Alps for commission builds coming up. So those client builds these other commission client builds were waiting on parts. So we're waiting for the PCBs to come in and the plates. So the plates ship. So the other commissions I have, the plates ship from Tom over at Hype Keyboards, which is awesome. So Tom's been really awesome over there. Like he's my go-to plate guy, which is pretty good. And I'm actually helping Tom over at Hype Keyboards do a what was it? He has a unicorn. He has like an R2.1 unicorn that he wants to make Alps. So I've kind of been working with him and Careless to like eventually like make his build fully Alps, which would be sick. Because like an Alps unicorn is just like, I don't know, kind of batshit to me, and I think that's awesome. So got that. So let's solder in this row, and then we'll test the number row. So let's solder in the number row, and then we'll kind of go from there. So awesome. Everything is looking good. So far so good. So yeah. So and also on Unreal, check your Discord DMs. I kind of sent like some information about the potential build we're gonna do for you. So just kind of keep me posted, my man. So all right, I like doing the center first. Sometimes these, just to make sure everything is held down. Awesome. Let me just make sure that's all down. Let's push that one in. Awesome. Cool. We're getting those in. So yeah, so it's pretty good. But yeah, we're doing some good builds today. So this is a pretty quick build. Not many of these switches are giving me too much trouble this morning. So I don't know if we'll have that many dead switches on this one today. So, but again, I like to make sure that everything is tested and make sure that the build is 100% ready to go for the client. So we're just doing that one. So we got those looking good. So yeah, this is a super sick build. And once we get the keycaps on, it's gonna be so cool. Like I love this. I really like this build and these keycaps. Like this is my first time using these keycaps on a modern build, which is really nice. I'm planning one of my own personal builds with these keycaps in mind. So this is a really, really nice, really cool keycap set. Sweet. So we're just soldering everything in, and then we'll test these switches. But yeah, Alps builds are really cool. I tell people, like, this Alps build is really cool because it's actually probably one of the more affordable options. Like, I'll be completely honest, modern Alps builds are not cheap, especially if you're going the TKL route. Like, I have a couple client commission builds. Like, one client ordered 3 keyboards from me, and they chose very high-end keyboards, and they chose very expensive switches. I don't feel comfortable saying how much they cost, but they were not cheap. Let's just put it that way. Like, we're talking boutique, high-end keyboard price range. But like for this one, this is like, I think like a little over $300 all in, which is pretty good. Well, that's if you include the case. Like, this actual assembly is pretty affordable. So like I tell people, if you wanted like an Alps build with OG Alps, like you can do stuff like a tray mount 60%, and like a Tofu or a Bakaneko, or like just any tray mount 60% case is going to be a really affordable option to get a really nice Alps build. And 60% boards are fun. Like, I really like 60% boards, and several of my Alps builds are 60%. It's like my AO3 Polaris right here. Love that board, which is really cool. The only thing with tray mounts that kind of stink, if you're a Win keyless person, you can't go Win keyless on tray mount, so you will have your Windows key, so if that's not your thing, you're kind of limited. But yeah, it's still super cool being able to do that and have that kind of support and making it more accessible. And this PCB right here is super, super cool. This PCB was designed by Apple T. He's based out of Sweden, and this is a tray mount H60 Alps PCB, and it has a ton of support and compatibility for a ton of different layouts, which is cool. So I really, really enjoy this board. And this PCB, I have several of them on hand because I think it's just a really great. I think if you're going to do a tray mount 60% Alps build, this is the PCB I recommend. Now, there is a flex cut, but this one thing to note, when this board is fully built, you're not going to notice that flex cut. There's going to be no flex in this board. Like, one thing with Alps builds, they are very rigid. Because Alps, I honestly recommend an aluminum plate for the best sound. Because Alps, the original Alps boards came with aluminum plates. And that gives you the most classic sound. Now, if a client wanted like carbon fiber or PP or PC plate, I'm not going to say no. It's their build and their money. But I recommend aluminum plates for most clients on Alps because that gives you the most OG classic sound. So that's going to be the nicest thing. So we're going to have one more switch on the numero, and then we'll do some testing, and then we'll continue on. All right. There we go. Win plus spacebar for the win, absolutely. All right, cool. Got that. All right, we got our number row in. So let me turn off my little solder vent, and then let's plug this puppy in, and then let's test our numero. That's going to be the big thing. Again, I test everything just before we go on because it just makes life a little bit easier. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, actually. Looking pretty good, honestly. Yeah, it's coming out good so far. Really like it. Really like it. So, all right, folks. So we're going to test our number row. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. 1 is good. 2 is good. 3, 4, 5. 6 is good. 7 is good. Ah, shit. Okay, so we have a dead switch, but a switch that's not properly registering. So my 0 switch, it is not registering the way I would like it. So it's very, very sluggish. So we're going to remove this switch, and we're going to put in a better switch. And I'm going to kind of show you the process for how to remove and take apart an Alps switch. It's not completely dead, but it's not up to my standard. I'm not going to send you a board with a switch that's not working 100% correctly. So we're going to, again, remove that switch. So I got to pull out my desoldering gun. So let me just put my solder wire to the side, and you're going to kind of see us desolder a switch. So we may have to do this a few times. That's just what happens when you get to the age of these boards and these switches. They're 40 years old. In this case, about 30 years old. So no offense to anyone who's 30. But that's just the nature of these switches. They're old. So we want to make sure the ones that I put in are really, really good. So I'm going to fire up my soldering gun to make sure my temperature is set correctly. So we extract that pretty good. All right, cool. So we're taking out the 0 key. So that's what we're going to be removing. So we're going to desolder that one. So the part that's faulty is the part that has the actual pins. That's going to be your switch plate. There's probably something corroded on there. Again, it's just old age. Another thing, too, about these switches, the keyboards they come from were used and abused. These things were in schools. They were in libraries. They were in businesses. Someone may have dropped coffee or food or water on these damn things. So these things were very well used and very well loved. Again, I do a very thorough cleaning and restoration process, but sometimes there's still switch plates that are going to be corroded. So that's just kind of the thing. So you just got to take that in consideration, considering where did these boards come from. Like one board I harvested was an old Apple keyboard. It literally had like food like caked onto it. Like someone literally had dropped a meal on it like 30 years ago. So that's just kind of the thing how it goes. So I'm making my, all right. Solder gun seated up. Also too, this is a Hacko FR301. This thing is not cheap, but if you're going to do solder boards, especially if you're getting into Alps and doing Alps build yourself, this board, I could not do my solder work without this thing. It's so much, makes life 1,000 times easier. So my 0 key is right here, so let's desolder that. Awesome. Perfect. So just make sure there's a little bit of solder right there. It's not. All right, cool. All right, let me just see. That one's still kind of stuck there. Give me a second. Awesome. All right. Put that to the side. Let's pull this particular switch out. And then we're going to put it in with a nice one that hopefully is a little bit better in terms of contact and whatnot. cool. All right. Got it out there. I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, Alps were pretty ubiquitous. Again, think of old Macintoshes, old Dells. Some early laptops in like the late 80s, early 90s utilized Alps switches. So they were very ubiquitous in the market, and also Alps were bigger than Cherry MX. So that's just another thing to note too. Like, they very much dominated the market. I mean, there's a reason like IBM, like HP, like Apple back in the day utilized Alps switches in either some of their early laptops or their keyboards, because Alps was the biggest player on the market in terms of like providing mechanical switches. So that they were very ubiquitous. Again, Cherry was still there. I mean, like some of the OG Cherry stuff is like friggin' awesome, but they were not the juggernaut. They were not like the dominant force in the keyboard market that they are today. So that's just kind of a thing. So we have this new switch in. So I want to solder this one in, and then we're just gonna double check it and test it and make sure that everything on that switch is good to go. So we have that one nice and soldered in, and then we're gonna do this one. Okay. So yeah, that's a really kind of cool thing. Yeah, but yeah, we're good. Sweet. All right, let's move that. All right, let's plug this in really quick, and then let's make sure we are good to go. All right, we got our RGB, because RGB makes computers go faster. Let's go to that 0. All right, that 0 is fantastic now. That is a nice 0 key. So we're just going to do one last test of everything. Escape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Backspace is good. Big ass enter. Right shift. Control. Windows. Right alt. Spacebar. Left control. Left windows. And left alt. All right, cool. So far, good. So far, so good. I'm going to put my soldering gun away for now. We'll probably be using this. This is not going to be the last we will see of this tool. We will be seeing that tool, I guarantee it. Let me plug my soldering hood back in. And let's install our... now we're going to get to the alphas. So let's start installing some alpha keys. And then we'll start doing some tests. So, again, we got... That's another thing, too, Unreal. I love having the big-ass enter on this board. Big-ass enters are a vibe. I love big-ass enters. I have a bunch of the GMK big-ass enters. I just got a GMK Dolk R5X. And a few months ago, I bought the GMK Dolk... or Dolch, as people say it, big-ass enter kit. So I can't wait to get the Dolch R5X kit and build a board with like a big-ass enter, because I love it. Because I have a big-ass enter with GMK 9009, and I have a 9009 GMK big-ass enter set, so it looks super, super sick. So yeah, big-ass enters, if I can put a big-ass enter on a board, I will try to put a big-ass enter on the board, because they're awesome. And they are a vibe. I have a big-ass enter on my Jelly Evolve, and it looks freaking sick. So... yeah, this is like the better ISO, in my opinion. All right, cool. So, all right, we have our first alpha row in. So, got to get those puppies inserted, nice and solid, and then we're going to get going. So, there we go, friends. Let's see what we can do. So, awesome, awesome. So, let's start soldering these puppies in, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, which is really, really nice. So, let's solder in. I'll do the middle portion just to make sure that everything is held in. Cool. Oh, forgot my little solder hood. There you go. Awesome. Cool. Making sure that's good. Awesome. So, again, this is this is a lot much easier and more straightforward build than like a TKL. So this is very nice. So, yeah, that looks good. Let's start soldering in these pieces. Alright, doing our first set of alphas. So, making it nice and neat, nice and clean. Alright. Looking good. Alright, switches are looking good so far. Cool. Alright, we have a few more switches on our first alpha row, and then we're going to kind of go through and see how everything came out. It's looking good so far. Yeah, everything looks good, so I'm liking seeing that. Alright. And about 3 more switches on this row, and then we'll do some testing. Alright, pretty good. Alright, cool. Alright. Got our first alpha row inserted. So, the first of our alphas have been soldered in. So, it's coming along. So, love the sound. Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. I love Alps, Black Alps. That's such a fun switch. So, a lot of people kind of sleep on the switch. So let's go through our... Alright, letter Q is good. W is solid. E or R. Nice. Y is good. Oh. Ooh, we got a dead switch. Alright. Our bracket button right here next to the big S enter is that. And my letter P. So we got 2 switches we're going to swap out here. So this is, we have a dead switch plate right here. And this switch is being sluggish. I press it and it takes, it's not like, when I press these keys, the key press should be instant. This P is being very, very sluggish. So we're going to replace these 2 keys right here. So let's get the desoldering gun out and we're going to desolder those switches. So... And this is the portion of the Alps builds that just takes time. They're very slow, and that's why I kind of do them like in rows, just to get everything through. So, got the desolder gun, it's heating up. So we're gonna pull out these 2 switches, and I'll kind of show you how I pull out switches. So I want that one and that one. Sweet. All right. So we're pulling out these 2 switches right here. So let the Hacko heat up, and then we're gonna kind of get it in. So let's see what we got. Come on, come on. Alright, waiting for that red light to turn off, and that means we are all, there we go, we are heated up, ready to go. So we're going to take out 2 switches here. Cool. Alright. I'm going to put the Hacko to the side for right now because we may need that again. So, now, since these ones are not on the perimeter, these are a little bit harder to take out. So I'm going to use them, I'll kind of show you my methodology to kind of pull out these switches. And we're actually going to disassemble these switches so you can actually kind of see how they're built. So, let me just get that one. Well, let me get my little switch opener and we'll pull them apart. Now, here's the cool thing about Alps. You can actually disassemble them and work on them while they are soldered in. That is something you cannot do with Cherry MX switches. So this switch is fully disassembled. I'll kind of show you the different components of the switches. So right here we have our Alps spring. this little plastic piece, this is called the tactile leaf. So this is the part that gives you your tactility. We have our top housing for the Alps switch, and then that's going to be your slider. That's what you see. That's the color. That's what gives the switch its color, and that's what your keycap clicks into. Right here in the actual keyboard, I'm going to put these to the side. We're going to reassemble that switch in a second. We have our contact plate. So this is the part that's either going to be corroded or that gives out. This is what's giving us a faulty signal to the actual keyboard. And then of course right here, this is going to be our bottom housing. So we're going to pull that out. So let me pull out my contact leaf. So this is our contact plate. So that contact plate, there's some different pieces of metal. So there's probably something that is corroded in this. That's just not good. So that's just a dead contact plate. So we're not worried about that. I got plenty of switches for us to work with. So it's all good. So let me just pull this. There we go. All right. Got one switch pulled out. That is pretty good. Cool. All right, there's that one. Got to pull out this one now. Let me put this switch back together and just kind of throw it to the side because, again, I want to just make a note of these switches that have dead switch plates so I can swap those switch plates out in the future. So, yeah, these switches are still pretty good. It's just this one component inside the switch that is faulty. So, there we go. That's a faulty switch. That's all good. And then we want to move over and pull this switch out next to our big ass enter. Okay, give me a second. There we go. Got it. All right, we got the switch housing pulled out. Let's pull out that switch plate. There we go. And then let's pull out the switch. There we go. That was actually really painless. Cool. All right, so we're pulling those out. Let's put this switch back together just so I can put it to the side and just kind of put that in the dead switch pile. So, oh, it's a shame. That one sounds so good. So, all right, let's put in 2 replacement switches and let's see how this goes. Hopefully, we get a little more lucky with these 2 replacements. Oh, yeah. That's going to be good. So, all right. Let's put those to the side. Let's solder those in. And then let's see how... Let's test those switches. Again, I'm not going to give a client a board if it's not exactly 100% correct. So, there we go. Let's solder these in. There we go. 1... And let's do these 2. Awesome. All right, cool. All right, those are soldered in. Let's go and pull in the other ones. Cool, good times. All right, there we go. Now, all right, bracket works. We got a working switch. Ah, I got a dead switch on my P now. So this one works, the bracket works. All right, my P. So the switch I put in for P is now fully dead. So, gotta desolder. It's okay, it's part of the process. We are trusting the process, folks. So, that is why Alps take forever. Yeah, Alps are a process, everybody. So, all right, gotta pull that switch out. And have my switch opener go. So that is part of it. Is I know RIP switch, man. It's okay. Like it's just the switch plate, the part with the pins that you solder. So the rest of the switch is still good. All the other components are good. It's just those switch plates. They're just really fragile. They're really finicky. And again, there's just parts of them that just get corroded over time. So that's just what happens when you're dealing with switches that are this old. Again, these switches at this point are pushing 30 plus years old. So that's why we just want to make sure. There we go. So that's just what happens. There's just something that's either not making proper contact. Yeah, it's just, but it's fine. So like overall, it's just that's why Alps takes so long. These builds. Oh shit! I gotta. There we go. There we go. Cool. All right, let's put this one back together. Yeah, so that's why it takes time. And again, that's why I am very thorough in how I put these Alps builds together. Like, especially with these client commissions. Again, these clients are paying me for these boards. When I mail the board to them or I deliver the board to them, I want this board to be absolutely perfect. And when I give it to them, I don't want them to have any problems. So that's why I really take my time with these builds and make sure that everything is 100% correct for the client. Because that's just not how I'm not going to give you something that's not working correctly. That's just not good business practice, and that's not what I want to do. So let's try another switch, and hopefully this is a third time's the charm on this particular switch area. So let's see if that letter P is going to work. So, and then we got 2 more rows. So this is the part that's the troubleshooting, that parts of the build that kind of suck. There's that part. And then let's do another one. Yeah, we're good. Just wipe off my solder tip. All right, cool. Let's put those tools to the side. All right, let's try that letter P again. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Ah. There we go. All right, we're good. This row's good now. All right, we can move on to our next row now. So again, we will probably have some more dead switches. That's okay. That's why we do the testing and we go row by row and switch by switch testing. So it just makes it a lot better. And again, it makes the end product that the customers get just so much better. So we got 2 more rows. So we got our next row for our alpha cluster, and then we'll work our way through it. But yeah, looking good. So there's our next alpha cluster. So all right, let's see. All right, just making sure all my pins are sticking through. All right, good. All right, so let's put the desoldering gun away for right now. Again, we will be seeing this tool again. That's just the nature of Alps. That tool is my workhorse when it comes to working on Alps switches. So let's turn on my vent and let's get this one going. All right, cool. Soldering that one, looking good. Do that middle portion right here. Give me a second. All right, so we're now soldering in this next row of in the alpha cluster. Just making sure everything is nice and solid on this particular board. Nice. All right. Looking pretty good. Awesome. Yeah, so hopefully this row is a little more successful than our last row. But that's just kind of the part of Alps that makes these things fun. So they're super fun switches at the end of the day, but one of the quirks when you're just building Alps build, again, is you have to acknowledge the age of these particular switches. So when you do get like a batch of Alps switches, you may have some that are dead. And that's why you usually, if you're going to do a build yourself, that's why you usually want to get, like, harvest like a full-size board or get like more switches than you need for your build, because you're probably going to have some dead switches. And that's why, so you want to have enough for the entirety of your build. So that's why I have a metric ton of Alps switches on hand. I probably have, I don't know, give or take, probably like a couple thousand Alps switches on hand for different builds. So yeah, so it's a good time. So we're making sure that everything's good. We're almost done with this row. We got like 3 more switches, and then we'll start testing it. So we'll start testing this board really quick. All right, so this row is soldered in. So we'll get them going. So row is soldered in, which is really nice. So I just want to see it, and yeah, pretty good. So, all right, folks, let's check out this one, and then we'll kind of go from there. So good times. All right, let's check out this. Oh. Okay, letter A is good. S is good. D is good. F. Press F to pay respects, everybody. Press F to pay respects. G is good. H. J is good. K. I know, there we go. Press F to pay respects, everybody. Okay, those are good. I'm just double checking. We might be good on this row. Okay. I'm just double checking and triple checking. Okay. Yeah, we're good there. All right, sweet. I don't have any dead switches on that row. That's like fantastic. Sweet. Now let's go to our last row, folks, and then we're on like the home stretch here. So home stretch indeed. Look at that. Pretty good. All right, so putting them in. All right, almost there. There we go. Look at that. So, oh my gosh, it's starting to look like a keyboard. Look at that. So, all right, last row, everybody. So let's solder these in, and then let's see how this one goes. So we're getting there. Almost there, friends. Almost there. So pretty cool. So I'm going to just solder in my middle portion, and then we're going to go. Cool. Good times, everybody. Good times. Alright, those are looking good. Start doing our other ones. Yeah. Everything looks good. Alright, we're getting there, folks. We got a couple more. Cool. Alright, so we got 4 more switches, and then we're going to do our last bit of testing, and then we'll start putting keycaps on. So let's see. Alright, we are almost there, friends. All right. We are all soldered in, so. All right, let's hope we don't have any dead switches. Let's see if we can just get through this row pretty easily, and then we can just do one last test. So, look at that. Everything is soldered in. Got all of our switches in there. Look at that. So, pretty cool. That is pretty sick. So let's get this puppy plugged in. There we go. Z works. X is good. C, B. Yeah. Okay. So this switch isn't dead, but it is going to be our greater than and period button. We are going to swap this switch out. It's just being very sluggish, and I want it to be, it's not instantly responsive like the other keys. It's a very sluggish key. So we're going to swap that one out. It's not dead. It's not up to the standard I want it to be, so we're just going to swap that switch out. So let's pull that switch out. And then we should be done with soldering. So let's pull that one out. So we're using that second one right there. Okay, cool. So that's the switch we are pulling out. So let me fire up the Hacko, let it heat up, and then we'll pull out this particular switch. We're pretty good on switches right now, so that's good to know. So come on, Hacko, come on. It's heating up. Give it a second. Come on, Hacko. So that's pretty good, but yeah, overall, that's just part of the quirk of Alps is you're going to have dead switches or faulty switch plates. So again, you want to get more switches than you need for a build. That's just kind of my rule of thumb. There we go. All right, cool. Let's pull this up. Cool. Just making sure. Keep the Hacko out. So let's pull that switch off right here. Cool. Let's pull those parts to the side. Cool. All right, let's pull that switch plate out. Sweet, yeah. Something's faulty in that one. It's all good. Cool. All right. Let's try this switch. Let's put this one back together and just put it in my discard pile of switches that got to be fixed later on. Or I'll just put it in the parts bin, because there's other viable parts in this switch that could be used for other switches. So let's put that in. Cool. All right. Let's solder this puppy in, and then we're going to see if that one works, but it should be fine. So let's just solder this switch. Cool. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's try that again. I think that should do it. Let's hope. Ah, yeah, we good. All of our switches are good, everybody. I'm gonna put the Hacko away. We are done with that. I'm gonna turn off my soldering iron. So we're done soldering with this particular project. That is very nice. Let me just clean off my soldering tip. Cool. All right, soldering is done on this project, folks. So that, hallelujah, amen. Sweet. All right, let's see. Let's just reset my switch tester and let's just do everything now. Cool. Big ass enter. I may have spoken too soon. We have a couple switches that are being weird. My caps lock is being weird now, and then my bracket is registering as dead. Okay. So we're going to swap out our caps. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to swap out caps lock, and we're going to swap out this bracket. They're just not... I don't like it. So I guess we're not done soldering. I spoke too soon, guys. I jinxed it. It's okay. So it's all good, everybody. That's part of the process. We trust the process when it comes to Alps. So to quote the Sixers. So we're going to do that, and then our caps lock. So yeah, it's all good, everybody. That's what we do. We're here for the process. We're here for it. It's all good. So let me see what we got. All right, let me see. Come on. There we go. Cool. That one's in, and then caps lock right here. Cool. All right, let's pull those out. Caps lock's on the side, so we should be able to just like spudge it out. Cool. All right, caps lock is out. And then we need that bracket. So let's pull that bracket out. Cool. Put those parts to the side. Let's pull out that bracket. Cool. Again, very much, this is also kind of like hand fitting. Like everything is just hand done. There we go. All right. Put this one as down as just a switch that's not 100%. That is okay. Okay. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's solder those in, and then we should be good. All right, solder that one in. Like I said, I want this to be 100%. Cool. All right, let's plug that in. Let's try that again. Take two. All right. All right, now we're done soldering. All right, we're good. Now soldering is done. So, soldering is complete. That is very, very nice. So, let's start putting keycaps on. So, I think we're good to start doing keycaps, which I think is awesome. Awesome sauce, everybody. So, let's start putting them on. And you're going to kind of see the character and this board come to life, which I think is really cool. Actually, keep that one off. Caps lock and tab. So that's going to be really cool. You're going to kind of really see the character of the board come to life. And I think that's what makes it so fun, is we'll get to see this board really take form. All right, it's starting to come together, folks. Look at that. Oh, yeah, dude, it's going to look good. Well, it's cool, too, if you look at this. There are some colored accents. Like, the shift comes off as a green accent. Control has red, and the alt has blue. So the keycaps, this is a really fun little keycap set from the FK 2001. So, like, it's a set I really enjoy. So, it's really, really cool. There we go. Just making sure. H. Okay. Yeah, we're just putting these keycaps on. It's gonna look really good. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's our J. Let's see what these are. Nope, not using those, not using those. G. No arrow keys on this one. W. Yeah, we're gonna look, this is gonna look sick. Until the coming along. So we're almost there, it's shaping up. Our other alt, 0, K, tab we'll put to the side. Here's our escape. I. It says QWERTY now. Almost there. Here's our brackets. 9. Yeah, it's looking good. Yeah, this is a sick little build. I really like it. And there we go. So, all right. So, I'm holding off on caps lock and tab, but that's going to be our assembly because I want to screw this in. So the one thing to note, Eric, when you do, Epic, you're only going to be screwing in 2 points in the tray mount. So you're going to do a screw right next to the letter Q, and there's a screw right next to the shift. The big S enter is covering on one of the screw holes I historically like to use. These two mounting points, as long as you screw them down like hand tight, they'll stay in the tray mount pretty good. So I'm gonna put it in the Ligera right now. So we're gonna put this in my Frog Ligera. This is not the case that we're gonna do for the final version of the client. This is just for kind of a placeholder to keep the board safe, the internal assembly safe until the client's actual case comes. So let me get out my screws. Give me a second. Let me find my. Let me get my screws. Let me get my tweezers for this one. I'm gonna use tweezers to insert this one. So let me get my screwdriver. But It's gonna look. The Ligera is a really cool case. I have. This is one of my personal builds. It's waiting on a plate, but we are in 2.4. Perfect. You can just grab a couple screws. Perfect. And we'll screw this in. I'll let you kind of see how this assembly gets screwed in. So it's pretty simple. There we go. Yeah, we may just have to. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I think also I'm gonna see how this goes with the 2 mounting points. If not, one thing I'd tell you too, when you get this build, try not to remove the stabilized keycaps. Reinstalling Alps stabilizers is kind of a pain in the butt. So if you ever have to clean it, you can remove all the other keycaps. Just don't remove the stabilized keycaps because they're just a pain to kind of work with. So I'm just going to put these 2 in for right now. Oops. There's the screw hole. There we go. Okay, give me a second. We're just gonna, yeah. I just want to line up my USB port while it's on the, because this is mainly going to be on display until we get your case in. Actually, that's pretty solid. All right, let me just do something. Actually, that's pretty solid. Honestly, oh, never mind. If you look at it, part of the assembly comes out. So what we're gonna have to, I'll talk with you on like Instagram or Discord a little later on. But when we get your case, realistically, once I put this assembly inside the case, you really don't want to be taking it out of the case a lot because one of the screws is gonna have to go into the big ass enter, and just reinstalling the big ass enter is kind of a pain in the ass. So when we get the case in for the client, because I know the client's watching, yeah, you don't want to be taking this build apart. So that's why I'm going to make sure it's 100% perfect, so you never have to take it apart. But yeah, it's just, I mean, you could, but it's just I can show you, but it's just it's just kind of a hassle. But for right now, for the purposes of it, here is the client's build. That looks really, really cool. I think it's awesome. So I'll tell you too. So there are 2 other keys I had to pull out from another set. This original set did not have Windows keys. So they're a little bit off, but these were the only Windows keys I had that would work. So they're a little bit off gray, but honestly, you really have to be looking at it. But their profile is pretty much the same height, so you're not dealing with them being taller or shorter. But yeah, your Windows keys are off, but are just a little bit slightly. But that right shift came out perfect. Look at that, that's perfect. So really cool little board. Let's do a little sound. Let me just let me put my the keycaps, the spare keycaps away. I'll send you these keycaps. They're fun to have on hand. And if you have something weird you want to do with them, so when we do send this to you, I will send you the rest of these keycaps. Again, these did come from a full size, so this is literally just your number pad and F-row and home cluster and arrow keys. But yeah, if you want to get weird with it or whatnot, I don't care. So it's all good. So let me just put those away. Cool. So let me put that to the side. Yeah, but let's do a little sound test. Again, this won't be 1-to-1 because, again, this isn't the final case we're going with, but I think that looks really good. That came out pretty good. So that big-ass enter looks awesome. But, yeah, nice beige and white. So, yeah, nice little fun build. Let me take off my little work pad, and then let's get this going. So we'll do a little sound test, and then we'll get off of stream here. So we'll sign off. That's a pretty cool little build. So, all right, here's a little sound test. It's up to my microphone. Yeah, that's pretty sick. So I'm just gonna put my mic back where it goes. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Let me just move that. There we go. So there we go. That is our build. So we have a Frog Mini Ligera for right now. So again, this is going to go on my wall of keyboards. I'll send you some more close-up pictures on social media of it. And then I'll keep you posted once we get the case in. So that's going to be pretty much our build for this client stream, folks. So thank you for those of you who tuned in. Again, the VOD will be on my YouTube channel. So if you want to share it with people, or if you want to watch back, or if you just want to learn about Alps, that is going to be kind of your go-to place. But this came out really good. The profile is really, really nice. So again, these are cherry profile keycaps. So no weird profile. So those are your classic kind of cherry profile. So the only weird one is, of course, our big ass enter. So, and again, with this particular build, it is fully reprogrammable on VIA. So once you get it in, you can reprogram this. You can add whatever layers you want to this particular build, but that is pretty good. So that is our build, folks. So thank you, everybody. We're going to get off here, but thank you.